Hello and welcome to the Vlogging Pod. Tonight
Hello.
we tonight we are joined by Nick Wilford. Hello, Nick. How are you?
Hello. I'm good, thanks.
Awesome. um, we had a little bit of hiccup getting in here tonight, but you are here and we are going to roll it
Yeah,
out. All right.
I'm here.
Awesome. Well, as a side note, I have to tell you this. I hear that you have 6 dogs, and I bring this up only for the simple fact I'm 2 dogs behind you. If we could just
Mm.
talk hubby into it, I'd be right there with you.
Yeah, you'll get there. But,
I know, right? I'm working on it. So if you hear them
mm.
come in and out, right now I have 2 dogs in here with me, I think. 2 dogs in the sound booth. So just in case you hear them.
Yeah, you won't hear mine. You shouldn't hear mine. It's after midnight here, over
Oh,
here
that's right.
in
Yes,
Scotland.
you're
Yeah.
in Scotland. Yes. So
So the
I'm going to
dogs
start our
are tucked up in bed.
Oh, they're all tucked up in bed.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you. I had a nap today. I stayed up so late yesterday, so
Mm.
they were kind of snoozing with me today as well.
Yeah, I had a little nap this morning, so feel okay. Um, not too
Well,
tired.
well, good. I'm glad that you were able to make it in with us tonight, and that you made the time all the way from Scotland. Is that what you said?
Yeah, yeah. And
Awesome.
I've done a few podcasts now where it's been a time difference, so yeah, kind of getting into
Oh,
the the rhythm with it.
nice. Now
That's
that's
okay, yeah.
Brighton. We're in Brighton, yes?
I was in Brighton. I grew up in Brighton, which is in England.
Okay.
That's down there on the south coast of England, by the seaside.
Okay.
And
And go ahead.
I moved up to Scotland 20 years ago this year.
Okay. And so your original place where you came from England and Brighton,
Yeah.
I heard that there was a lot of history to that. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Well, yeah, Brighton's got a great history. It was where the Prince Regent sort of would come as to as like a seaside retreat.
Mhm.
Sort of popularized um, bathing in the sea. It wasn't really done before that. Built a palace down there, the Royal Pavilion, and really put Brighton on the map and made it into the sort of happening place that is now. It's a big sort of party city now. It's a
Nice.
city now. I mean, it was just a little
Nice.
fishing village to start, but yeah, it's a great place to
S
be.
So what made you move to Scotland?
I moved up to study journalism originally,
Okay.
which was my kind of idea to get into the world of writing.
Mhm.
Originally doing journalism, I wasn't sure I could be a creative writer at that point. It was something I'd had as an idea. I wasn't sure I could had the skill set to write a whole book. Um, so at that point, I wanted to try journalism, learn some skills, and then see where it took me. So I came up to Glasgow,
Uh-huh.
which is a great city as well.
Right.
I met my lovely wife just over a year after that.
Nice.
Since then, I've been settled. Pretty much.
Well, wonderful. Now, you talked about how you weren't certain that you could write. You could write those long, lengthy stories. But I
Yeah,
do believe I read that you actually got the writing bug a little early, somewhere around 10, and you wrote a play. Am I correct on this?
yeah. You've done your research.
I have. So tell me a
That's
little
right.
bit
And
about that. Tell me a little bit about that.
yeah, it's just messing around really. Um, it was basically based on my family. Probably
Mhm.
changed the names, but it was kind of taking out some frustrations which you normally
Right.
feel as you're a
Oh,
kid with your
yes.
family. Centering them up sort of gently. So that was fun.
Right. Well, I
I
feel
mean,
I can understand that. I used to write poems when I was a kid,
hmm,
and then as I got older, I felt a lot like you did. I was unsure about that first book, like if
yeah.
I could do it. In fact, my first book sat on a shelf for 2 years. So how did you
Hmm.
push back that thinking that you couldn't write? How did you overcome that?
I just thought I would just try it, and I felt like probably now or never. Just give it a go, see where it goes.
Hmm.
Um,
So you just decided to get your feet wet and dived right in.
just dive in. Yeah, I'd written like bits of
Good.
short stories. Um, Not really finished them. They were just little scrappy ideas. I mean, it's a case of having the right idea as well.
Right.
So I had this idea, and I thought, well, I want to try and do something with this. So yeah, but it took, I think, 2 years to write that first book, and
Oh yeah.
it was in this sort of area of being a thriller, like a detective
Hmm.
story,
Right.
and that wasn't really my forte, probably. But you got to try different things
Oh yeah.
to find what works best.
Well, now I believe that I found, I read in a few interviews I looked up with your name attached. I do believe you started doing the thriller because it was an interest of yours that you like to read, correct?
Oh, of course, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, okay. All right. And then you went from that for trying not to be the thriller writer, and you went into speculative fiction, am I correct?
yeah, yeah. That was what sort of gravitated towards. After that, I think I started
Okay.
reading a lot more science fiction. Always read that sort of thing, but reading a lot more. By that point, I was getting to know other people online, like other bloggers, and a lot of them are writing fantasy, science fiction. I started reading more the sorts of books, and everything you read sort of informs you
Right.
and gives you ideas.
See, I always found that I like to write what I want to read. So,
Yeah, yeah,
which maybe makes other people like, I don't want to read that. But you know what? I find
absolutely.
what
Yeah,
Yeah, what intrigues me is writing something that in really pulls me in. So how did you narrow it down specifically that you wanted to do speculative fiction?
I think it's just a case of thinking about what surrounds you. Developments. So things change so quickly, and
Mhm.
you just wonder how it could be in 50 years or 100 years. Will we even be here? Will we be somewhere else? It's just sort of infinite directions you can go in. It's just very very freeing. Sort of go anywhere
Right.
with it rather than being sort of set in a certain time and place. You could be anywhere, in the universe, really.
Right. I feel that. I've written two science fictions my book as well, so I understand letting my mind go wild and
Yeah,
putting me anywhere I want. So I get you. I totally do. So, when you start writing your books, everyone has they have panzers, they have
mm.
full on, everyone writes everything down. And I heard that you're kind of in between. So,
Yeah.
tell me about that brainstorming passage that you make when you start going for the first book.
Well, I will have an outline. It could be like 1 or 2 pages. There's probably a few sort of big ideas or possible plot points
Hmm.
I want to get in there. But after that, I'll just sort of start, with my character, and it might end up being completely different to what the outline was. Because it's only when or Owen and I write about that character that I get to know who they are and what they can handle, what they can deal with. So it's
Oh,
nice
that's
to have the outline,
oh yeah,
as a vague sort of route, but I'm always open to it going off somewhere completely different.
right. Now, when you do your outlines, I notice, just for me personally, and I don't know, you let me know if this relates to you. I notice my characters grow as I'm writing. So do you continue
Oh
to
yeah,
add to those character outlines as you're going along?
um, definitely, yeah. I,
Okay.
I find out about but their vulnerabilities, their strong points, and that definitely informs the story because I think everything's got to be led by the character. They've got to
Right.
be believable. Of course, you can have all these big ideas, but without a sort of relatable character to sort of view them through, you know, it's maybe not. It won't. The reader won't be held by it because they've got to relate to the character at all
Oh yeah,
times.
they have to build that emotion and kind of put themselves in the character role as they're reading. I get that, yes. So you have, I believe, five five current books. You have a sixth one
Hmm.
coming out soon here in August, but you have five
Yes.
books. The one
Yeah.
we're talking about tonight, or we're going to get ready to talk about, is called Reckoning. And I
Yeah.
would love to understand a little bit about the trilogy. This is from the Black and White YA Dystopia trilogy. So tell me a little bit about the trilogy, and then tell me about this newest book in it.
Yeah. So this is the Black and White trilogy. It's set in. It's really a future version of Earth, and it's the main country was probably it was America as it was, but it's all changed. Sorry, no, it's probably more like the UK. Yeah,
Okay.
that's what I'm right about. You know, what I know. So this in the society, everything's all the disease has been eliminated, and everything's sort of gleaming and white and modern. What the people living there don't know is all the sort of disease genes and everything that causes disease has been moved out and moved into a different country where all the people are living in squalor and they die young. But the people in the sort of modern society don't realize that until this boy from the sort of diseased country appears through a portal in the sort of white country, and they don't know what he's doing there. They sort of see him as you know like a demon. They've basically sort of in this cult,
Hmm.
you know, where they've been told anyone who's different from them, must be a demon because this was going to happen at some point. Someone would find their way back and trying to get help. So this one boy, Wellsbury, seems to feel a connection to this boy for some reason. Doesn't know why, but he wants to help him, and that doesn't go well for him because then he's being persecuted. He shouldn't be helping this boy. They put the boy in jail, but he ends up breaking him out and going with him to his country and seeing what's happening there. And then it's about trying to convince everyone back home of what's happening and get it stopped.
Nice. And now you've went on to the next book, which is called Reckoning. Where are we at in this segment of the series?
Yeah, well, by the time we get to Reckoning, which is the final book, it's about the government of the white society, the sort of ruling elite.
Hmm.
They've been put on trial by this point for basically, keeping this situation going, this with the disease and everything, because it's been going on for hundreds of years. So yeah, we
Right.
get to see them get their reckoning, get their comeuppance. It's the day of reckoning.
Right.
That's where the title came from. And I just think that's a sort of a good word. It's quite ominous
Yes,
sounding. It's
it
got a
is.
good
It is. It
yeah,
does make the
it's
mind
got a
go a
ring
little
to it.
wild. Yes, and the
Yeah.
covers. So very black and white as far as the covers. But where do you get the cover work? Do you do it yourself? Do you hire? How do you get to where you are with the covers?
Yeah, I did hire a cover artist, um, using images that I had found, and then I hire the artists to sort of work with them and make it looking good, make it looking professional.
Hmm. Okay. I have to be honest.
That's a,
When I was reading the thing, and I was thinking, wow, because you mentioned in the first part of the series, it's in a white city. And I
yeah.
was like, "Holy freaking oid!" Because my sci-fi, I not a sci-fi, sorry, my science fiction, yes, um, it started with a white city,
Mm,
and I was like, "Holy crap, we're sharing the same mind."
wow.
I know, right? And so I was like, "Wow." I mean, totally different lines. You know what I'm saying? Your work is a lot different than mine. Um, but with the white cities, and I was just like, just the imagery you pulled me, and I was like, wow, this is so much like what I was imagining my city to be,
Mm.
except for where you were talking about how there's no illnesses and stuff like that. There's a whole
Yeah,
other storyline that mine goes into. But
yeah, 'cause
as
it's
far as your mind, as far as how the city in the future looks, it's very
mm,
sterile. Is that the word
yeah,
we're looking for here? Yes.
synthetic, and
Yes. Yes. Now
yeah,
how
artificial.
did you right, exactly. So how did you get on that line of thinking for that? I'm just curious to find out how we
Mm,
had similar areas in that.
yeah, I know it's hard to sort of come back now because it was over 10 years ago when I
Oh.
started writing the first book. So it's been
Mhm.
actually trying to think how I got that initial first idea, but obviously it'd be an ideal to get rid of cancer, to get rid of any disease and everything to be just perfect. But can anything ever be perfect? I don't think so. So it's probably going to come at some sort of cost. So that was
Right.
probably the thinking um, that it started from, because it looks like a utopia.
Right.
Everything's clean and perfect, but there's more going on under the surface. So it is actually a dystopia in
Right.
reality.
When I started mine, the reason I made everything white is because in my future, it was they looked at it as a distraction. The
Right,
colors, the
right.
vibrancies of the
Mm.
world. It was a distraction to just being pushed forward into the driven society of
Yeah,
making it just productive. You know what I mean? The work was production. All the colors and the artistic elements of the world were a distraction. So
much
that
what.
is interesting.
Yeah.
I love the difference in our views on that. I like that. But then on the same, so it's kind of like, boy,
No,
that's
mine is
I
quite
don't.
similar to that because there's no sort of real artistic
Yeah,
elements. Everything's very functional and about sort of doing your work, sort of producing for the society, but it's not artist. It's nothing kind of outside of the margins. It's all very straight laced, and there's so yeah. That I think they are quite similar like that.
right. Well, just that part, I have to be honest with you, without giving any storylines away, I would just that from what I read on yours, that's probably the only thing that we have similarly was the sterilization of
Mm,
keeping it clean and polished, kind of
yeah.
hospital lines. So I get
Mm,
that. Now, when you're saying that this is the last book in this series. Have you thought
yeah.
of making a byline off this story, like from one of your characters or anything like that?
Possibly. I wouldn't rule anything out. Um,
Okay.
but at the moment, I've kind of moved on to sort of other stories with my new book
Okay,
coming
and
out
that would
in
be
August. Yeah,
calmer. Be
yeah.
calmer?
The
Okay.
Big
Are
Karma.
you
Yeah,
able to are you able to tell us a little bit about that?
yeah. So this is my first traditionally published book, having been self-published before. So it's different. Obviously, that's quite exciting
Right.
in that way. So in this book, it's about a girl who has the power to resolve conflicts using her mind by going into other people's minds. Two people's minds who are like in conflicts and sort of smoothing things out.
Mhm.
So then she gets called up uh, to stop a war, which is the sort of biggest job she's ever taken on. But obviously, it doesn't quite go to plan. She's supposed to sort of broker an arranged marriage between two heads of royal households, sort of either the prince and the princess from these royal households. But
Mhm.
the princess is very resistant to that and fights back. She's actually just not wanting to play ball at all. But actually, find out she's more involved, in the war itself than what we thought to start. So she shares the same sort of gift, but uses it for evil. So really, the battle
Oh.
becomes between Harika, my protagonist, and Jazz Miller, the princess. It's like this intense
Nice. Well,
standoff. Yeah,
it sounds very interesting. I'm reading the bio as you're talking. It does sound very interesting. And this will be out August 8th, 2023, so this year.
yeah. So not long, just over a month. Yeah,
Well, nice.
yeah.
Wonderful. So I'm glad that that's coming about really quickly for you.
Yeah.
And the
Well,
cover, go ahead.
sorry.
No, go ahead.
I signed the contract just over a year ago, so have had a kind of quite a long lead in build up, and just been nice, sort of get the words out there and build it up over that time.
Okay. So were your prior books indie from an indie format?
Yeah, well, they were self published,
Nice. Very nice.
so I've sort of
And
learned
so,
lessons from that.
well, I'm really glad that you've been picked up by a publisher because you are a talented author. So I'm very glad that
Hmm.
they noticed that fact.
Yeah, hopefully, yeah, hopefully
Oh
I
no,
am. Yeah.
I am for sure. I am for sure. Everything I have read is pulls you in. And like I said, when I started reading a little bit of black and white, I was really like, wow, it really did pull me in. It really did.
Hmm.
So
That's good to
I'm
hear.
very
Yeah,
well, you're welcome.
thanks.
I want to thank you so much for being on with us this evening, especially making the time difference between our two countries. So thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Yeah, it was a. I enjoyed it a lot.
Well, wonderful. I would love for you to come back anytime.
Yeah, I will. Yeah.
Awesome.
Um,
Well, I want to thank you again for coming in. And I want to thank everybody for listening. And it's that time of the evening. I get ready to close off, but I want to leave you just with one thing, guys. In in tribute to the Black and White series, I chose for Amazon's deals today a full white on duvet set that was originally 47% off. No, I'm sorry, it is now 47% off, down to 1037. The link will be in the bio. That is our Amazon deal today. That's in tribute of the Black and White series. I want to thank you again, Nick, for joining us this evening. It was a dual pleasure. I really enjoy your work, and I wish you so much success.
thanks very much.
Well, you're welcome. To everyone, thank you again for listening in tonight. Till next time. Bye bye for now.